All right, joining us on this St. Paddy's Day for another Royal Roundup is our royal expert, Patricia Treble. Patricia, good morning to you.
Good morning.
All right, new this morning, we've got some fresh viz and pictures of Princess Katherine, who was in attendance with her regiment for the annual St. Paddy's Day parade there.
Yep. She is she's the colonel of the Irish Guards, so this is a very big day for them. So not only does she present everyone with shamrocks, big bunches of shamrocks, she takes the salute, and then she meets with all the soldiers and their families. And I will say that there is drinking involved, because whenever you go to a regiment, you usually end up in a mess, and there's usually alcohol involved. So, and this is really a milestone. She wasn't able to do it last year. So this is one of those steps on her return, and a big one for her.
All right. No. Also in London today is our Prime Minister, a day after his birthday, 60th birthday yesterday. We're talking Mark Carney, and he'll be meeting with the King later this afternoon.
Exactly. So talk about milestones. This is it. Canadian Prime Minister meeting the King of Canada on the first big international trip, of course, at Buckingham Palace. And it's a big one. I mean, this is the most important relationship probably the two of them have, is with each other. And of course, Carney, as you mentioned, meeting staunch allies. This is always, though, a one-on-one meeting. No one else is in the room, and usually you never talk about what the subjects are. You never get into the details, but I think we all know what the number one topic is going to be.
Without a doubt. But there'll be some sort of press opportunity, would you expect?
There'll be a press opportunity, I believe, after meeting the British Prime Minister. Yeah. So, but they will unlikely to talk about what he talked about with the King of Canada. No.
All right, meantime, the King has also made headlines with a new ceremonial sword that many thought was a show of support for Canada amidst Donald Trump's threats of making us the 51st state.
Yeah. This is an event we would normally never talk about, but these are unusual times. So he met with the Usher of the Black Rod of the Senate of Canada, known as Black Rod. He's the Chief Protocol Officer for Parliament. He met with him and the Speaker of the Senate. It was a long-standing engagement. He presented him with a new ceremonial sword, which has the King's cipher on it. Normally, we would not be talking about this. I would be interested. That's okay. But these are unusual times, and not only did Buckingham Palace highlight this in all their social media, but they also told everyone that they had quite a long meeting afterward, and they talked about topics of grave concern. And again, I think we know what we're talking about. So the fact that they're focusing attention on it makes clear the King's role as King of Canada. And certainly it has been in the forefront the last few weeks.
And you've noted there have been a number of nods to Canada?
Exactly. I think there's a heightened sensitivity, so you can find it anywhere, whether it's real or whether it's not. But there is a really strong relationship. So the King planted a tree at Buckingham Palace for the Commonwealth canopy event for arborists. It was a red maple. So take of that what you will. When Kate was at Commonwealth Day service last week, she wore red. And a lot of people were saying it's Canada red. It is. But she also loves the color red. You also had at that same service, you had the King and the Queen are sitting on seats behind kneelers that are emblazoned with the Canadian coat of arms. And a lot of people were thinking, oh, it's very much showing support for Canada. Those are actually what the King and the Queen always sit on at Buckingham Palace, because at Westminster Abbey, because they were actually given by the Canada Club to honor our Second World War dead. And so, but there's always these connections, and now people are noticing them more.
So intentional or otherwise, there's been some subtle nods.
Oh, yes.
All right. The royal ratings, they are in for both the King's new podcast and for Meghan's new lifestyle show. Yeah.
So King gets a throne. He's also #1 on Apple Music for the King's Music Room. Look, it's a great playlist. You've got everyone from Bob Marley to Beyonce. How do you go wrong? Not so much good news for Meghan, but I think it actually is good news. So Netflix has their global top 10, and she came in at number 10, 2.6 million views. I actually think this is really good because A, it's a global audience, and it's also, this is a lifestyle show, which is not something Netflix normally does. So much less, like 1/10 of what Harry and Meghan got when that series came out, but I think it's actually still good news for her.
Okay, and that's her lifestyle show, but she also has a podcast set to debut, right?
Absolutely. So they've been talking about this for about a year, right? We knew that there was a podcast coming. We finally now have the details. We know the title. It's Confessions of a Female Founder. Again, these titles that do not roll off the tongue. I've had to memorize it. The date, April 8th, and what the concept is. And she's going to be talking with female entrepreneurs about how they grew their businesses, what worked and what didn't. And of course, it's the synergy for her, for As Ever, for with Love Meghan. It's all, she builds her own brand. So I think it's a clever idea for her.
All right, that was the announcement we just saw there that she put on her Instagram, and this replaces the Spotify podcast?
Yeah, so the Spotify podcast, that went in the summer of 2023. Spotify canceled. It was a mutual thing, but really Spotify was ending the deal early because they didn't fulfill their commitments. So this is now with a new company. It's called Lemonada, and they've had some really big hits, so we'll see what this comes out of.
All right. Patricia Treble, thank you as always. Appreciate it. And enjoy the rest of this St. Patrick's Day.
I will.